Hello and welcome to We the People. When you and I go to a doctor, in many ways, we are surrendering our lives for that moment into his or her hands. But doctors are not gods. The question is, while everyone makes a mistake, what if that mistake is a result of carelessness? A watershed judgment from the Calcutta High Court has reopened a debate for India's medical community. This judgment has actually decided that 17 doctors associated with a hospital in West Bengal will now stand criminal trial. The court has found them a prima facie needing to be investigated for a case that involves medical negligence. The story, of course, started when Dr. Kunal Saha, a US-based doctor, decided to launch this crusade for his wife. She was only in her 30s when she died. She went to a doctor because she had a skin rash. And then, according to Dr. Saha, the steroid that she was administered played a part in her eventually dying. Dr. Saha is joining us now from the United States of America. Dr. Saha, why did you decide that this was a case that needed to be taken right to the top? Your fight has gone all the way to the Supreme Court. Why was this particular fight so important to you? Obviously, it involved your wife. You loved her very much, but you've been fighting this now for years and years.
You know, my wife and I went to India for 2 weeks vacation in 1998. Just at the threshold of starting a family life. We both just graduated and built a career in US as a young couple. She was only 36. Then she died in the most incomprehensible manner. I'm a doctor myself from India. So the way she was killed by the so-called top doctors, I could not believe it in front of my own eyes. But then I felt my wife is not dead. She's physically dead, but she is with me till today. And she sent me a message that people like these are dying in our motherland. We lived in US, but we are Indians. And the way her life was taken away, a lot of Anuradhas are dying since then. So it's a crusade for me because I felt that my wife came to my life. We met, we got married for this purpose. I'm a doctor, but I'm a victim. I'm an American, but I'm an Indian. That's why I could fight this seemingly impossible battle. For ordinary Indian, they can't fight because the whole stack is against them. The legal system is so long and cumbersome and expensive in India. And then the medical council, the judgment last week by Calcutta High Court involves medical council of West Bengal, which is supposed to protect the patients. Now remember, they never treated my wife, so they're not guilty directly for medical negligence, for which other doctors are guilty. Supreme Court has held so. But they protected these doctors. They could have prevented this if medical councils do what they're supposed to do, to take disciplinary action, to cancel license of the guilty doctors. Then our country's condition won't be what it is today, the healthcare. You see the reports, news every day. People are dying, patients are dying in hospitals from what seemingly reckless negligence. So many of them may not be actual cases of negligence. But you have to admit, when there are so many cases, some of them are brazen.
But can I ask you, Dr. Saha, you're a doctor yourself, and you've done considerable research in the area of HIV. Many doctors here that we speak to also complain that if there is so much litigation, if they're constantly dragged, for example, into court cases, they will never really be able to innovate if they have to. They will never be experimental. They will never try new things because they'll always be scared of the next court case. How do you respond to that argument or that concern?
Nobody is dragging doctors. I mean, the number of negligence is way outnumbered how many cases are being filed in India. In US, there are against doctor a lot of frivolous cases, and a lot of people, they know that. But is that the reason? US medical standard of medicine is by far the highest, much better than India. So if that logic worked, then US medical standard would have been far worse. You don't have to drag them to the court if medical council works. And public in India would not. Because they don't have resources. They can't fight in the court of law. Yes, I have won, but then how I have won? I had to go all the way to Supreme Court numerous times. And only in the Supreme Court I won. So, and I spent crores and crores. And then the doctors community in India, even the good doctors, they don't come forward to testify truthfully.
Yes. And you make the point about doctors refusing to testify against other doctors, and that might actually be at the heart of the debate we're going to have, Dr. Saha. So let me take that straight to Anand Grover. How much of a watershed is this judgment? We've had other judgments in the past. You've had a judgment from Justice Karju, I think in 2009, that said that an error of judgment by a doctor is not the same thing as negligence. You have Dr. Saha making the point that nobody was willing to testify, but he doesn't accept the charge that this will lead to doctors being dragged through court. Yet I'm sure many doctors will express that concern.
It's practically impossible for patient litigants to succeed in court. Like, for example, I'm from Bombay. Now I'm in Delhi. If you file a suit in the Bombay High Court, it won't see the light of day for 20 years. The medical councils have completely failed. They protected doctors. Dr. Sai is absolutely right. In most countries that happens, but in India it's much more so. The other thing is litigation is very expensive. Consumer courts are available, but consumer courts are much below par. And negligence is a complicated issue. It's to do with standard of care. And the standard of care keeps evolving. And what is the standard of care is what has to be determined. You need expert evidence for that by a patient litigant. And that means doctors who are not ready to satisfy. It's very difficult. Most litigants are afraid of courts. The legal system is actually broken down in terms of ordinary litigation.
What does this verdict change, if at all? Because I can also see many doctors being very worried that 17 doctors are standing criminal trial.
Well, unfortunately or fortunately, negligence is both civil and criminal.
Yes.
If they have, and this is not the people who, as rightly Dr. Saha says, who operated, they protected. That's a criminal act. They have to stand. They haven't done their job. And it's corruption, actually. I'll just give you my own example. It's nothing to do with the fact that people are bad. The system is structured in such a way that it's a factory. Even in an outpatient clinic, if you go like I did for an allergy that I thought I had, you just don't get proper service because the doctor has no time. And this is me who's enlightened about medicine, etc. So you have a major problem. And in hospitals, there is a saying that if you go to a leading hospital, if you're over 70, they go there to die. And they make a lot of money out of it. And that's a fact.